There's something seriously wrong with my family's new home. I knew it the moment I saw the place, and it turned out to be worse than I could have imagined. I first laid eyes on the house after my parents had closed the deal. We'd been driving through a fancy neighborhood in our rusty Honda CRV, a car that felt completely out of place. After a final turn, the house appeared at the end of a long lane, far enough from the other homes to feel separate, almost isolated. It was tall and old, but well kept. That vintage boldness drew me in. The house sat nestled among evergreens, like the last sign of civilization before the wilderness took over. "That is our new house?" I gasped, leaning forward between the front seats. I was captivated, barely noticing the neighbors staring as we passed. My dad chuckled. "It is, Harry. How?" I was 17, old enough to know that we couldn't have afforded something like this. "It was a steal," Mom said, glancing at Dad. 2 years of hunting, and we finally got lucky," Dad sighed. 2 years? Well, patience pays off," Mom added, gesturing at the house. "Search long enough, and you might strike gold. Smelly gold, that is," Dad said, with a laugh. I nodded, staring. I didn't need more explanation. That monument at the end of the lane was to be my new home? "I want my own room." "Lena," my little sister squealed. She was 8, and my brother Kai was 4. They'd been sharing a room, but now Lena would finally have her own space. "You'll have it, honey," Mom said. Lena grinned ear to ear. She didn't know yet that she'd soon regret sleeping alone. The first few days were fine. Inside, the house was as proud and old as its exterior, twice as spacious as our old place. It smelled. That sour, lingering stench Dad joked about was everywhere. Mom explained it was the reason we got the house so cheap. Our dogs, Chiefy and Miss Bear, didn't mind. They ran the halls barking, leaving muddy footprints, and growled sometimes at night. We all assumed it was just the old building creaking in the wind, but then things started to get strange. It began with Kai talking to himself. Through the thin walls, I could hear Lena singing along to her K-pop soundtrack. But Kai, he was mumbling to someone else. Mom asked him about it. "Kai, sweetie, are you talking to yourself?" "No, Mommy. I'm talking to my friend," he said. My stomach sank a little. Mom looked at Dad, then back at Kai. "Who's your friend?" Kai shrugged, eyes on his toy blocks. "I don't know." They whispered to each other and decided it was fine. 4-year-olds have imaginary friends. I tried to move on. A week passed, then 2. The dogs never settled at night. Miss Bear started growling at my wall, the one I shared with Kai, even on nights without wind. "Enough," I hissed. Miss Bear stared at me, then barked sharply at the wall and yelped. I froze. Her fear made mine spike. She bolted toward Kai's door. I followed. Kai was awake, sitting on his bed, facing the wall. "It's okay," he said to the dog. "It was just my friend." I swallowed hard. Right. A 4-year-old's imaginary friend. The next day, I inspected the shared wall. I moved the dresser and leaned into the air vent. Goosebumps prickled my skin. There it was, a stain at the bottom of the wall. Brown now, maybe once red. It dribbled down in thick rivulets. I sniffed. The sourness of the house, nothing more. Probably nothing. I shoved the dresser back and tried to forget it. Later, Lena surprised me. She refused to go with Mom to the store. "What's wrong?" I asked. She looked at me, eyes wide. "This house is scary." Scary. I frowned. She hesitated. "It feels like we aren't the only ones living here." I tried to reassure her, but, yeah, the house was creepy. The creaking, the stink, the dogs growling, Kai's imaginary friend, the stains, even the neighbors staring at us. That night, I woke to a dog sniffing my feet. I shoved it away. Half asleep, Lena screamed. I scrambled out of bed. "Lena, are you okay?" She sat on her bed, blanket pulled to her eyes, staring past me. "Someone behind you," she whispered. My heart froze. Slowly, I turned. In the shadows, I thought I saw her. A girl, blood-stained, faceless, except for 2 piercing eyes. I screamed. Lena screamed. Dad flipped the light on. Nothing. But then I noticed the stains, the same as behind the dresser. Mom's look at Dad chilled me more than the figure had. "Nothing's there," Dad said finally. "It's normal to get spooked in a new house," he added. Lena slept with me that night. I tried to convince myself the visions were my imagination. Days passed. Kai had his imaginary friend again, though quieter. Then one afternoon he whispered to Mom, "Can we go back to our old house?" "Why, sweetie?" "I don't want to talk to him anymore," Kai said. A horror passed over Mom's face. Dad cursed quietly. I demanded answers. Dad finally said it. The previous family. They didn't just die. They were butchered. And the father, he got away. I shivered, thinking of the stains on the walls, the blood I'd glimpsed in my imagination. The next terrifying discovery came from Kai's room. He pointed at the vent, not the wall, where he'd seen the scary man. I pried at it. The vent gave way, revealing a crudely cut square. Cobwebs and dust puffed out. I followed the crawl space, inching toward the shadowy corner. A sighing, humming noise grew louder. "Ho, ho, ho, ho!" A pale face appeared, one bloodshot eye, rotten teeth, bony fingers clutching the wall. I screamed, grabbed my siblings, and ran downstairs, through the house, out the front door. We called the police from the neighbors. Lights swarmed our street. Dad insisted he'd been told the family had died, but the police confirmed someone had been in the house. The crawl spaces beneath the house were worse than we could imagine. A hidden den, dug into the earth, filled with rotting food and a sour stench. The father of that murdered family had survived, living beneath our home. We moved immediately. New city, new house, reinforced windows, but the threat never went away. Kai still fears his friend. Mom constantly checks the pantry. Dad obsesses over dirt. And me, I wake up 3 times a week, feeling like something's licking my feet.